Hi good people, hope you're doing well and keeping safe. My name is Carrot Cha and welcome to my channel. I have some Form 3s with us here, ready to do a practical from the paper that you've just done. Sindio? Yes. They're in Form 3 that term, and this is when we start our paper 3 practicals. So this is your time yangapi kufanya the second time, yeah. The second time to do the practical. So we want to share some knowledge that we have about chemistry with my students over here. So they are going to start by introducing themselves.
My name is Robert Lekumato. We are here to do a practical that our teachers have set for us, and it's actually the second practical that we are doing today.
Oh, Robert.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my name is John Moturi and niko hapa kufanya prank.
Nice.
Evans Donga, ready for a practical chemistry.
My name is Benson Maura. I'm ready to do my second chemistry practical.
Good.
I'm Kobe Collins, ready to do my second practical.
Yeah. So just like I've mentioned, they in Form 3 that term, going to Form 4. Sindio?
Yeah.
Yes. So we have a paper that we've done here, and since you don't have the paper, I'll be reading the instructions for you. Sindio?
Yeah.
So I read the instruction, then you use whatever you have there. So what we have on the table, first of all, we have a rack with 2 boiling tubes and at least 5 test tubes. You have a spatula, a wooden splint, we have a filter paper, and we have 3 solids. Solid, T,
And solid
sodium,
hydrogen
hydrogen carbonate, na hiyo ingine ni gani? And solid V. Then we are going to share a source of heat. As you can see, our burners are so dirty from the practical that we've just done. Sindio?
Yes.
Yeah, so we have 2 burners because we are only 5 of us. Then hapo nyuma yenu kuna reagents. Moja ni barium nitrate. Hiyo ingine ni acidified. Unaona imewekwa H+.
Yes.
Kwa hivyo acidified potassium manganate 7. Then we have ammonium hydroxide iko hapo, na pia tuko na nini ya mwisho? HCl. Unaona hivyo? So we have 4 bench reagents over there. So I'm going to read how the practical goes. Sawa? You're provided with solid labeled T. Place all solid T in a boiling tube. All right. Add about 10 cubic centimeters of distilled water. Then shake thoroughly. Yeah. Then you've been asked, filter the mixture into another boiling tube. So what do you do to the filter paper? Kwanza unakunja
Into a half,
halfway, then quarterly,
then open one leaf.
You open one leaf. Hivo. Okay, so what do? You pick the filter paper, then you put it in a filter funnel, sindio?
Yes.
Then you allow it to settle.
Yes.
Yeah, even to an fan. All right. So it's going to take some time, right?
Yes.
So as you wait for it, let's go to question number 3. You are provided with solid labeled V. Then whenever we are doing the practical, we have to follow the instruction as it is. So swali ya kwanza inasema, place about 1/3 of solid V on a metallic spatula and burn it in a Bunsen burner flame. What can you see, people? White fumes. So like soot. Nona soot. Kuna yellow flame, kuna yellow color. Ndio hiyo. Nona the yellow color?
Yes.
Wenye mko huko mnaona? Do you have soot? Do you have soot there? Good. Question 3 inakuanga on organic chemistry.
Yes.
Question 3 inakuanga very easy. Whenever you are asked to burn in a flame, what do you expect? What are your observations? Either
The yellow sooty flame.
Either yellow sooty flame or blue non-sooty flame. If it's yellow sooty flame, what is the inference?
Presence of
Alkenes or alkynes.
Yeah, alkenes and alkynes are present, sindio? Then what if it's a blue non-sooty flame?
presence of alkenes.
You can either say alkanes present, ama you say absence of alkenes and alkynes. Alkenes inafaa kuchorwaje? Like this? Is that correct? No. What is wrong with that?
Every carbon should be bonded with.
Every carbon
Should have
four bonds.
Yes.
Unaongeza zingine mbili hivi.
Yes.
Na zingine mbili hivi. That is the correct formula. Kama ni alkyne, inafaa kuaje? Si ni a triple bond? Yes. Like that? Is that correct? No, it's not correct. So what's wrong? Lazima zikuwe 4 of them, si ndio? So 3 4 na 3 4. Do you see that? Yes. So you can write that if it's yellow sooty flame, the 2 are present. If it's blue non-sooty flame, you can put the 2 are absent. Una get hivyo? Yes. Ama kuna mwingine amesema ukipata blue non-sooty flame, unaweza sema alkanes are present. See, that is true. Yes. So alkanes, kama you are to make a structure of alkane, itakuwaje? Hivyo, then dissolve all the remaining solid V in about 10 cubic centimeters of distilled water in a boiling tube. Kumbuke bado tuko question 3 eh? Yes. Nini ina happen? Is it dissolving or not? Eh? Observation. Solid V.
Dissolves in water.
Yeah, it dissolves in water. Inference.
It's a soluble salt.
No.
It's a polar.
This is question 3.
Polar sounds.
It is organic.
It's a polar.
So utasema nini? Case polar. Sawa? When do you use the salt is soluble? In question 2, inorganic. Mnaget hivyo? Yes. If it's organic, then unaandika it's what? Polar. Na kama haidissolve? Non-polar. You've been asked to use the solution for test in B1, B2, and C. So at the back of your mind, unajua hii inafaa kutumika mara 3. Mnaget hivyo? Yes. So it depends with how the question has asked. B1 inasema, place 2 cubic centimeters of the solution in a test tube. Add 2 drops of acidified potassium manganate 7. 2 inatoshana aje? 2. Ya ni kidogo roba. Unafaa kuweka kidogo vile. Mbona huwa tunaweka small quantities?
Because the small quantities give us the best
results and fast. What is the color of acidified potassium manganate 7? What are your expectations? It decolorizes or not. Sindio? Yes. Yeah, so let's first of all do that tuone nini ita happen. What is happening, people?
The color is retained.
Ukiandika the color is retained, is that correct? No. What is wrong?
Purple color of acidified potassium permanganate.
Are you supposed to say potassium permanganate in chemistry? No. We use the IUPAC names. So what are you supposed to say? The purple color of acidified, it must be acidified, sawa? Yes. Potassium manganate 7 is retained. Or someone else will say, the purple acidified potassium manganate 7 color is not decolorized. Yes. Unaona? Juko na expectation. So you can have both of them. So when you see that, what is the inference?
Absence of alkenes and alkynes.
Absence of alkenes and alkynes. Now, what about if alkenes and alkynes are present in this case? What will happen to the purple color? It will decolorize. Put 2 cubic centimeters of solution in a test tube tena. Then uongeze sodium hydrogen carbonate. Ongeza sodium hydrogen carbonate. What are your expectations?
Effervescence. No,
Exactly. What can you see? Look at ongeza. Aha. Mnaona hiyo? Mmeona nini watu? Effervescence. So kwa observation utaandika effervescence, ndio? Yes. Inference itakuwa nini? RCOOH is present. Now in organic chemistry, we deal with alkanes, alkenes, alkynes, alkanols na alkanoic acids, ndio? Yes. Alkanols zinakuanga ROH. Alkanoic acids zinakuanga RCOOH. R standing for the alkyl group, si ndio? Yes. Kwa hivyo ukiona effervescence, it means RCOOH is present. Na ukipata there is no effervescence, unajua lazima kuwe na expectation, si ndio? Yes. Juu kikosa kuwa na kitu hauwezi andika no observation. See, that is true. Yes. Determine the pH of the solution obtained in B above. What do you use to show the pH? That's the universal indicator paper with pH scale from 1 to 14. So you cut a small piece, then you dip it. Naona venye kala imechange. Sasa utajuaje pH?
You compare
With the chart given. pH gani inafanana? Ni pH 1 ama 2? Ni gani which is which? pH 1 na 2. Ni gani inafanana zaidi? 2. Naona hivyo? Observation utaandika nini? pH 2. Sawa? What will be the inference?
strong acidic.
Strong acid ama strongly acidic? Strongly acidic. Sindio? We cannot say strong acid because si lazima solid V kuwa na acid, but inaweza kuwa na property yenye inaifanya ikuwe strongly acidic. What if it was pH 7? What will be the inference? Neutral. So we filtered the mixture. Ebu tell me the observation. After kufilter, what do you have? Residues and filtrates. So utaandika white residue, and what is the color of the filtrate? Colorless. Hiyo ndio itakuwa observation. Colorless filtrate, white residue. Difference itakuwa nini?
Ions are absent.
Colored ions absent, cause residue ni ya white, filtrate ni colorless, ndio? Yes. Which are the colored ions if you were to specify? Copper ions. Ion 2 ions and
Ion 3
ions. Or you can simply write for your inference, the salt is a mixture of soluble and insoluble salt. Transfer about half of the residue in a dry test tube. Retain the filtrate for use in test 2B. Dry them using pieces of filter papers. Una dry hivyo. Heat the residue strongly and test for any gas produced using a burning splint. So what are you going to do? As you heat, unawasha hii wooden splint, si ndio? Ndo any gas that is going to be produced, una test for it. So unaweza burn hivi, ukiwa umeslidisha hivyo. Una burn. Haya, what is happening to the burning splint when you're mefanya? It's being extinguished, eh?
Yes.
So, what are you going to write as your observation? Glowing. Yeah, so unakuwa very careful, si ndio? Yes. What was the color of the gas? Colorless, si ndio? Hiyo ni gas gani kwanza? Carbon dioxide. So what salts can you heat generate carbon dioxide? Carbonates. Naona hivyo? So inference itakuwa nini? Carbonates present. Mnaget hivyo? Then next, ebu look at the solid that you have. Did it change color? So you also look for color changes. Place the rest of the residue in a dry test tube. Then uongeze 4 cubic centimeters of HCl. Then you retain that mixture. First of all, what are your expectations? These are residue na unaongeza HCl. For question number 2. What are your expectations? But now we can't talk about formation of a precipitate, yet we already have a precipitate. Utaongea mambo ya formation of a precipitate if that was the filtrate. Kama hiyo ingekuwa colorless solution. Unaona? Hiyo time utaona kuona color. Say it's already white, then you say umeform white, utajuaje? Unaona? What else do you expect? Ukiongeza HCl. Effervescence. Negative, yes. You either expect a precipitate or effervescence, but in this case we do not expect a precipitate because we already have the solid. It's in solid form. None hivyo? Yes. Yeah, turn enough. Do you see effervescence?
Yes.
So ni salt gani unaweza ongeza HCl upate effervescence? Niambieni all of them. Any carbonate, sulfite. Ukiongeza HCl kwa carbonate, of course una form carbon 4 oxide. Ukiongeza HCl kwa sulfite, una form sulfur 4 oxide gas.
Yes.
But now from B1 tulisema carbonates are present because there's production of a colorless, odorless gas that extinguishes a burning splint. Sindio?
Yes.
So in number 1 we confirmed there were carbonates, and now we confirm the second time that carbonates are present. 2 cubic centimeters of the solution that you've obtained. Add 6 cubic centimeters of aqueous ammonia dropwise until in excess. Aya, ngoja kwanza. Naona nini akiongeza 2 drops?
White precipitate is formed.
White precipitate, sindio? Sasa ongeza in excess. Look at that. Na hiyo test tube yako iko na color. Hebu tuone hii yako. This is what has happened. Hebu tuone hii sasa in real life. Look at that. Observation itakuwa nini? Unajua umeambiwa dropwise then in excess. Kwa hivyo lazima uandike vile kumehappen dropwise na vile kumehappen in excess. So white precipitate, ndio, which dissolves in excess. So there are 3 things here. So ukipata white precipitate dissolves in excess, inference itakuwa nini?
Presence of zinc.
Zinc ions present, ndio. White precipitate insoluble in excess. Aluminium ions, lead ions, magnesium ions present. Nasikia hivyo? Na ukipata no white precipitate, sa unaandika zile zote zenye zina form white precipitate ziko absent. Ni gani hizo? Zinc, aluminium, lead, magnesium ions, what? Absent. But also, did you know that silver ions also form a white precipitate that dissolves in excess aqueous ammonia? Now you know. Tumemalizana na residue watu. Sasa swali inasema tuende kwa filtrate. To 2 cubic centimeters, you add aqueous ammonia dropwise, then until in excess. What can you see? White precipitate is formed. Sasa ongezeni in excess tuone kama ita dissolve. Ime happen aje watu? Ime dissolve tena. Observation.
It dissolves in excess.
White precipitate which dissolves in excess. That is where the points are. First point, white precipitate, then dissolves in excess. Naona hivyo? Yes. So inference ni gani hapo? Zinc ions present. Si mnaona hiyo ni rahisi? So kwa residue na kwa filtrate tuko na zinc ions. Yes. To 2 cubic centimeters of the filtrate, add about 2 cubic centimeters of HCl. Kabla muongeze HCl, what are your expectations? Hii ni filtrate na iko colorless. Naona watu? So uongeze HCl. What are your expectations first of all? either effervescence or no effervescence, or in this case now you can talk about formation of a precipitate. You see, HCl is a colorless solution. Filtrate is also colorless. So if in case you form a precipitate, you'll definitely see. Naona hivyo? Si kama ile ya kwanza ya residue. Si ndio? Aya, so you also expect a precipitate or no what? What color of precipitate do you expect from two colorless solutions? A white one. Was there any effervescence? No. Is there any precipitate? No. So what will be your observation, people? Tandika nini? Tandika there was no change. You can't write that. So you have to have expectations always. Sindio? So tandika nini? No effervescence na no white precipitate. Inference itakuwa gani? Tumeongeza nini watu? HCl. Sasa ukipata no effervescence, what is your inference? Ni salts gani zo form effervescence ukiongeza HCl? Nimesema before. Carbonates and sulfites. Sai umepata no effervescence. Utaandika nini? Carbonates and sulfites. Naona venye iko sawa? So, hiyo inakupea mark connected to no effervescence. Kitu ingine, no white precipitate. HCl iko na chloride ions that have the ability to form a white precipitate with cations gani? Silver na lead. Do you agree? Tunasemanga all chlorides are soluble except silver chloride na lead chloride. Sindio? Sasa tumepata no white precipitate. What is going to be your inference? Absence of silver ions and lead ions. And the last one, umeambiwa hivi, 2 cubic centimeters of the filtrate. Add 2 drops of barium nitrate. Haya, mnaona nini? White precipitate. Inference. Barium you form precipitate na salt gani zingine? Barium what? Kuna barium sulfates, kuna nini ingine? Kuna carbonates na kuna nini ingine? Na sulfites. But we have the 3 of them, sindio? Yes. But now, in the previous question, yeah, the same filtrate, venye tuliongeza HCl, tulipata no effervescence, alafu tukasema carbonates and sulfites are absent. So, can we come down here and say now, carbonates and sulfites are present now? No, you cannot contradict yourself, sindio? So, what ion is remaining? Sulfates only, sindio? So, utaandika sulfate, ions present. That is the practical you did, question 2 and 3. So, how was it? How was it? Iko sawa? Mliandika hivyo answer sama? Si zote mliandika hivyo, but sasa ina make sense. Is there anything new that you've learned today, Roba?
Yeah.
What? Say something.
HCl produces effervescence.
When you add HCl in question number 2, you either expect effervescence or a precipitate, yes, depending on what you have. Nakumbuka hiyo residue, sindio?
Yes.
But when you add HCl in question 3, what do you expect? Effervescence or no effervescence? Sawa?
Yes.
Aye.
So I've learned that in this question it's a procedure, so when one is eliminated, you cannot expect it on the other question.
Yeah, when you say one thing is absent, kwa question number Roman 2, you cannot say it's present in Roman 3.
Yes.
Good.
I've learned that every detailed observation is necessary for the experiment.
Yeah, lazima ukwe chonjo, sindio? Yeah, true.
I've learned that when you see a white precipitate, you see there is presence of sulfur, which I didn't know.
Ukiongeza nini? Barium. Yeah, you know that barium carbonate, barium sulfite, barium sulfate is insoluble.
Yes.
Sindio?
Yes.
Good.
Learned that when a solid dissolves in this
the solution will be given.
Uh-huh.
It depends, the way you answer depends on the question. When it's inorganic,
Yeah.
it is
Soluble ama insoluble? Question 2, sindio? Question 3?
question 3, organic.
Uh-huh.
So it's either
Polar.
polar or non-polar.
Correct.